Hello everyone, I am Renown Zero, and it would appear out of the woodwork that a bunch of VTubers now are having issues with the fact that Eric July is calling out the nonsense when it comes to supposedly trans kids existing, which they don't. So we're going to take a look at a couple of clips and react and commentate on these clips from said VTuber, but just before we get started, just know that this person is using a female VTube model and looks like this in real life. And this is actually something he says in the first clip that we're going to go through. So we're going to jump right into it down here where he's taking shots at his video talking about the Protect Trans Kids flag that's put in the Spider-Verse film, similar to what breakdown this guy had who plays the victim. So we're going to jump right into it here. Let's get into it. Actually, not.
Alrighty, so
actually not gonna do that. We'll just stick to this.
Alrighty, so apparently we got to talk about the Spider-Verse trailer because reasons, I guess. I wasn't aware that was a thing we're going to be talking about.
So I might be able to do it here.
We got to talk about.
Let's just pull this down.
Alrighty, so apparently we got to talk about the Spider-Verse trailer because reasons, I guess. I wasn't aware that was a thing we're going to be talking about at any point, but you know, apparently it's important.
And of course, also before we get started, please do not interact with this person on any of their social medias or YouTube channel or Twitch channel or whatever they use. Keep all your comments in the comment section down below. As you can see, they made a video about Eric one day ago.
Important. Apparently it's important, at least according to Young Rippa 59, who has a channel with 512,000 subscribers.
Much to do with
saying that like it's supposed to mean something, I guess. Yeah, so 512 subscribers is a lot, but saying it like you care really says a lot.
that character that I understand is many of y'all's favorite tokenized character.
Tokenized character. Miles Morales.
Yes, Miles Morales is Miles Morales. He is a tokenized version of Peter Parker, has the same powers, same origin story, and has been said multiple times factually that Marvel just needed a black Spider-Man because of certain rights that they were going to lose with the character of Peter Parker, who is Spider-Man. So they needed to create a version of him that was diverse. And it's been said, I believe, by Kevin Feige or some high head of Marvel, don't take my word for anything, you can go look it up yourself, that it was indeed just made a black character for diverse points.
Tokenized character. You know, the guy who literally took on the mantle of Spider-Man in the Ultimate Universe for the longest...
It's a mantle. It's not a mantle. Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Miles Morales is Miles Morales. It's not a mantle.
time. Definitely a token. You know, definitely. Maybe you don't know the definition of token, but okay.
He actually does know the definition of token, which you don't actually explain what the definition of token is, and you like to say that other people don't know what the definition of token is, considering that he's done plenty of videos explaining what the actual definition of a token is. So it's really funny how you are saying that he doesn't know the definition of token, meanwhile in this clip, or in this live stream I should say, you don't actually explain what the definition of a token is.
Okay, sure. Why not?
That's not what this is about. Now,
Protect trans kids. That's what it says. Protect trans kids. That's fine. What's the problem with a flag that says protect trans kids?
You're marketing this movie as a family film, a kid-friendly film, and you're marketing this to what is essentially, again, a family film. And you see nothing wrong with this. Again, trans kids don't exist. We only call them confused kids who are groomed by what would appear to be people like you. People who are like you have the same weird ideology that you do, that kids can be trans or kids can be gay. Meanwhile, kids can't even dress themselves. Yet somehow they can figure out what sexual orientation they are.
Most people who are trans find out that they are trans between the ages of 4 and 6. This is pretty...
No, they do not. No, they do not. And it's very weird that you would say some weirdo pedo shit like that. No, they do not. Again, kids are just impressionable. They're like sponges. They absorb everything. They cannot consent. And they can't even dress themselves. Yet, somehow they can figure out they are trans. Between 4 and 6 years old.
pretty well documented. People who are trans, or who think they are trans, tend to go on puberty blockers in order to buy themselves time to see if they actually are trans or not. But
typically people or doctors will say put children on puberty blockers because they just listen to whatever the child says, and there's been stories where they'll essentially hold the kid at ransom, and if you don't believe what their child is saying about themselves, and they think they're the opposite gender, somehow you're phobic or you're abusing them.
During that time, they operate as trans to see if that is what works for them, or if they actually...
Again, this is taught to children by weirdos like you, who have this weirdo-ass ideology, who believe that trans kids exist.
are cis, and it's just a phase for them.
Once again, got people in the chat saying the same exact thing, spewing the same BS ideology that you spew, talking about that trans kids exist. They do not. There's no such thing as trans kids.
For them to figure that out, that's what the puberty blockers are for. It buys them that time. And
no, it is to stop them from going through a normal process that is biological in their body to happen. That is what it is for.
Then, for the duration of that time, and even afterwards, if we figure out that that's the case, the term we would use for them is trans kids.
The term that you would use for them is confused groomed kids. Because that's what they are. They're groomed kids.
Now, there are people who will take umbrage to that particular way that I'm describing.
Because they don't exist. And most people have a working brain to understand that they don't exist. But you're probably room temperature IQ, so you wouldn't understand the difference between something that is non-existent and real.
A kid and say that kids aren't trans because kids shouldn't transition! And you're right.
No, kids aren't trans because there's no such thing, because they cannot consent. And again, this is self-taught by weirdos like you.
But kids don't transition, at least not in the ways that you give a shit about.
Definitely not the argument he's ever made.
Most of the ways that you would, quote, transition a kid is socially. Going on pure...
Yes, socially, meaning it's taught to them.
puberty blockers is not transitioning.
It's part of the process of transitioning. Please do not gaslight. You're such a piece of shit.
When we're talking about transitioning, we're talking about a...
I still can't honestly believe we're having this discussion about teaching these kids about gender orientation, sexual orientation, gender, and all this stuff. Is simple rule. No matter what side of the aisle you're on, stay away from children's minds.
HRT, which is usually not given until the age of 16.
Which is still a child. At 16, you are still a child.
Talking about surgeries, which are usually not given until the age of 18.
Wrong. There are children who are 13, 14, and 15 who are getting things like double mastectomies. Once again, you don't understand that this is happening because you refuse to look up that it's actually happening.
By that point, we're not talking about a kid anymore. We are talking...
14, 18, yes, 18, they are an adult. But prior to that, they are not an adult. They cannot consent to child mutilation. They cannot consent to mutilation. They cannot consent to double mastectomies. They cannot consent to bottom surgery. And they cannot consent to puberty blockers. So you are essentially abusing and grooming children.
Talking about an adult. And when we're talking about somebody who's 16, we're talking about somebody who, at the very least... Alrighty, so apparently we gotta talk...
At the very least, is still a child. Fucking weirdo. At 16, you are still a child. Point blank, period. I don't understand why this is such a difficult thing to understand. At 16, you are still a child.
That is a trans person. That's what that is. Because trans is not short for transition when we're talking about this. Trans just means not cis.
This person right here says, I was a trans kid for 18 years. After that, I was a trans adult. Society's doomed.
Not cis.
Yeah,
Again, cis is not a thing either. Can we stop using the word cis? It's not a thing either. Heterosexual.
Hollywood's infested with these freaking weirdos. It's not at all surprising.
Weirdos, you know.
Yeah, like you. You're a weirdo.
Just people who are trans.
No, people who are groomers and pedo adjacent like you are. People who want to instill their garbage, fake ideology onto impressionable minds who cannot consent, who cannot give permission to mutilate their bodies.
Noted weirdos, I guess.
Slippery slope.
You're one of those weirdos. You are literally VTubing as a woman, and you are a biological male. Yes, you are a weirdo.
Was never a slope. It was more akin to a cliff where you had a free fall. When they
And wow, slippery slope. The fallacy. Congratulations.
said they were going to be coming for your children, and people they said they were religious zealots.
I mean, they were religious zealots. They are religious zealots.
They were off base when they would say, fortunately, with their
Fortunately, there is a gay choir who said you are coming for your kids. This isn't a myth. This actually happened, and they said it was a joke. But they know it wasn't a joke. They just said it was a joke because they got called out on the disgusting rhetoric that they were spewing in this said choir.
pictures and their other properties. They're doing a lot of the same stuff, at least the American Sony Pictures and whatnot. And look,
Also, Fennec, thank you very much for redeeming your points for an well. But okay.
I hate that this is a conversation that we have to have a discussion about, but it is a very serious one because you have people that are actively acting as if this is something that needs to be normalized. And
I mean, it does need to be normalized. Kids are...
No, it should not be normalized. We should not be normalizing teaching children about sexual orientation, gender ideology, gender identity, and all and such. Stay away from kids. And this is exactly why people like Eric July call you a weirdo. Call people like you weirdos. That's exactly why you're essentially proving the point as to why you are called a weirdo.
just kids.
Because you act like a weirdo.
And sometimes kids are gay. Sometimes kids...
No, sometimes kids are not gay. Again, kids are not able to dress themselves. And they're not concerned about these types of ideas. They're busy playing with toys and learning math and science and social studies. They have no idea what the hell any of this nonsense is unless it is taught to them by weirdo teachers and weirdo people like yourself.
are trans. There's nothing wrong.
There's no such thing as trans kids. Again, I don't know why we've been having this conversation. There's no such thing as trans kids.
With that, and in fact allowing a support network for those kids is important in making sure that they...
The only support network that they need to have is their parents telling their teachers not to teach them this or get them out of the public schools, aka the indoctrination camps, and homeschool.
They are able to figure out who they are in an environment.
Again, they are children. They are very impressionable, and they're not able to figure out who they are because they are children.
That will not harm them. Protecting kids is a good thing.
Yes, protecting kids from weirdos like you is a good thing. Let's continue to protect kids from weirdos like you.
So, when you're like, oh, this is bad, this is people coming for your kids, now shut the fuck up.
It is people coming for your kids. It is 100% people coming for your kids.
You're an idiot.
Continue to gaslight, because that's what you seem to be good at, gaslighting.
And that is child mutilation. That is doing things to their bodies that...
Child mutilation? You mean like circumcision?
You mean like double mastectomies? You mean like bottom surgery? Where they take skin off their forearm to try to create a vagina that they'll need operations and and things like that for the rest of their lives in order to sustain it, because it's not sustainable, because it's not real.
I'm sorry, it's not child mutilation, because that's not a thing we're doing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's unfortunate that people like you exist who decide that, again, gender identity and sexual orientation should be taught to children, and I'm sorry that you don't take the time to actually know what you're talking about when you're trying to commentate on someone's video. Meanwhile, you don't even know what's actually going on because you refuse to look it up, because you know if you found the truth, your whole narrative would be shattered.
Surgeries are not happening en masse on fucking kids.
Oh, they most certainly are.
That's not a thing that's happening, my guy.
Yes, it is.
Is irreversible. When you talk about like double mastectomies, which absolutely is happening to young people.
That to young people. Okay, but are we talking about kids?
Are kids not young people? You idiot! Oh yeah, I forget. You're room temperature IQ brainlet. I keep forgetting. I'm listening to a bunch of drivel from a fucking retard on the internet.
Double mastectomies. Are we talking about kids? Also,
yes, we're talking about kids.
So double mastectomies happen in early onset breast cancer patients as...
And those people are, for the most part, they're adults. And it's a necessary procedure for something like that to sustain the person's life. You're trying to compare a mastectomy done on a cancer patient to doing it to a child that cannot consent.
Well,
because when you do it to an adult, they have the choice whether or not to do it. Whereas you're doing double mastectomies to children who don't have a choice in the matter because they cannot consent because they are a child.
When they are children. Actually, that's what puberty blockers were designed for in the first place. So, I mean, this is a surgery that was being used in that case anywho. Also,
no, it wasn't.
Double mastectomies. You know that's a thing that it's not the biggest deal in the world.
It 100% is when you're doing it to children against their will and without their consent because they cannot consent.
Top surgery is one thing. Bottom surgery is an entirely different thing.
They are the same thing when it comes to doing these types of surgeries to children. If you want to do it as an adult, it's perfectly fine. It's your body, your choice. If you want to do that to yourself as an adult. When you want to do it to children, it's a totally different thing.
Top surgery, I'm just going to go ahead and be honest and say it. If somebody regrets top surgery, if somebody regrets a double mastectomy, they have the option of getting breast implants.
Again, getting breast implants is never the same thing as having natural breasts that were designed biologically to create sustenance for children when you have them. You cannot create said sustenance with fake titties. You fucking idiot. It is a biological fact that is what the breasts on a woman were designed for. They were designed to create sustenance for newborns and growing children. Fucking idiots, man. I swear, biology has been lost on retards like this. If we think the kids should not be gone after ideologically, I want to agree. Kids are not banned from church. They are not allowed to step foot into any religious organization, which faith and belief be over an ideological thing that is something like the trans ideology. Two different things. The Bible, on one hand, teaches you how to be a good and humble person, whereas the trans ideology teaches you that you are not who you were born as. They like to say assigned at birth. No, you are born either male or female, man or woman. There's no in-betweens.
Can absolutely have issues, let's say that.
Okay, have issues, let's say that. So what are the fucking issues then, my guy? Maybe say what the issues are. Maybe it would be a good idea.
He's actually said the issues multiple times in multiple videos, but once again, you are commentating on a person who you've done zero research on to anything that they have said in the past, which is why people like you continue to be disingenuous like you are.
if you want to talk about this to actually say the things they are. I'll be willing to say what the side effects of puberty blockers are. Bone density. Wow, that's about it. That's really the biggest thing we have. Calcium deficiency. That's mainly what happens with puberty blockers, which is
what mainly happens is it stops the process of a biological process that happens to growing young boys and girls that is supposed to happen naturally. You're essentially blocking the ability for a growing boy or girl to go through the process of puberty, which is why it's called a puberty blocker.
actually a thing that happens with people who just have late onset puberty. Puberty blockers literally just create late onset puberty. That's what they do. So when you say like side effects of HRT, well, the side effects of HRT are largely the side effects of having those hormones in the body. You know what also creates?
Let's look that up. Let's look it up. Let's look up what it actually is, because clearly retards like this don't actually do any research. If you want to look into it, right here, side effects of this thing: estrogen, bloating, breast tenderness or swelling in other parts of the body, feeling sick, leg cramps, headaches, indigestion, vaginal bleeding. Side effects of progestogen: breast tenderness, swelling in other parts of the body, headaches or migraines, mood swings, depression, acne, tummy pain, back pain, vaginal bleeding. So, once again, you clearly don't know what the fuck you're talking about, because once again, you do not look up anything. Let's get back into it.
Creates that PCOS. PCOS causes testosterone to be in the body more often and received in the body more often than you would normally expect in a cis female. But okay.
People are not cis.
Sure. I'll say what the side effects are.
They're straight or heterosexual.
Can you?
And people, I mean, at minimum, even if, no matter who you are, at minimum, we should be able to accept that, look, the children should stay away from that. This is not something that needs to be, if they want to make that decision as an adult, you can, of course, are free to disagree or agree with it. However, you know, that's their ultimate decision to make as an individual and as an adult.
Okay, cool. Then shut the fuck up about it. I mean,
yes, let's shut the fuck up about groomers and pedophiles like you, who want to instill bullshit ideology in the minds of impressionable people and protect them from weirdos like you. Let's stop talking about wanting to protect children from weirdos like you. Apparently that's what you want, which is something I refuse to do, and I'm sure Eric will be refusing to do.
if that's going to be your take, then maybe
it's literally the only take that should be a thing.
It's not worth talking about.
Doesn't mean everybody has to agree with it. That
is 100% worth talking about, because you must protect children from weirdos like you.
Doesn't mean everybody has to like it. They can think you're a fool, but it's your body, and if you want to do something goofy like that, that's your business. But that's not what it is that we're discussing, and that's not the angle that
I like how the angle he's using is like, if you want to do something goofy like that, guy, there are.
You're doing something goofy right now. You're playing a VTube character who is female, and you are a male. You're doing something goofy as we speak, as you speak. So she the last one talking, oh, it's just goofy. Man, you are doing something goofy right now, being a VTuber who is male, and being a VTube character is female.
There are people who engage in a variety of cosmetic surgeries to make themselves more comfortable with their bodies. There's nothing goofy about that.
There's things that are 100% goofy about that. Because most of the time it makes you look worse. It makes you goofy because you are essentially destroying the body that you were born as. It's not saying you can't do it, but it still does make you a little goofy trying to change something because you don't wanna get old. It's part of life. Deal with it.
But I mean, the minute it's a trans person, now suddenly it's goofy.
these people are taking. They are going after people's children.
No, they are not.
Yes, they are. There are been plenty of videos where teachers are coming out to their kids that they're teaching, talking about these weirdo sexualities that they make up in their head constantly. So yes, they are coming for your kids.
what should have been off limits, no matter where you're at ideologically, no matter where you're at politically or socially.
This is 100% correct. This is the only proper fact that people should understand. No matter where you are, on what side you are on, stay away from children. Stay away from the minds of children, of impressionable human beings.
It should have been understood that the key.
Shima Kagami, thank you so much for the raid. How was your stream? Also, if we think that kids should not be gone after ideologically, I want to agree. Kids are now banned from church.
Faith is not an ideology. Faith is a belief system in something greater than yourself. They are not the same. Don't ever compare faith to the bullshit that you're spewing about gender ideology. It is not the same. It is 100% not the same. It may seem like a cult, I guess, but it is not the same. The Bible can teach you how to be a humble, loving, gracious human being and how to live the right way, as in to not be an evil person and to turn away from temptation. But it is not teaching you that you are something you are not. Alright, moving on. VTuber strongly disagrees with Eric July saying surgery is surgery, none of it's self-harm, claiming there's no difference between burn victim having surgery and trans child having surgery. There's no such thing as trans kids to remove natural parts. Let's get into it.
Like a lot of the material, definitely that is more geared towards young people where this stuff is going. And it's quite disgusting, but it ultimately boils down to that they want to, it's not just normalization through culture, but they're using children to validate themselves.
Who's using children to validate themselves? Who?
Literally people who are teachers that we've seen videos of, getting children to validate their non-binary self or their some weirdo sexual orientation that they just made up in their head. Also, you've even got a person like Rick, who is doing this exact thing that he just mentioned.
Who's they? Is they just trans people?
No, they is anyone in the alphabet community that's doing this exact thing.
Is they?
Because that Eric guy is gay and is using children as a shield. That just like he's talking about, just like Eric is talking about, validating himself with children.
They just trans people? Are trans people using children to validate themselves?
Yes, they are.
I don't see any real evidence of that.
Because you failed to look for it. Because once again, you are a moron. You are a room temperature IQ brainlet. You refuse to see it because you refuse to look it up because it would destroy your narrative overall if you were to look up any kind of evidence that this is happening.
I don't.
In their line of thinking. And that's where it becomes disgusting. There's no such thing. When I hear people, the fact that we even having this discussion trans, it's not a such thing, dude.
Yeah, there is. A kid who does.
No, it's called a groomed kid. This is taught by an adult to a child who is impressionable, who will take the information that they are told and absorb it like a sponge. Trans kids do not exist. Gay kids do not exist.
Doesn't identify with their gender. Dip. Gender assigned at birth. That's a trans kid. Just like a trans adult is just an adult that doesn't identify with their gender or they're assigned at birth.
Which is called gender dysphoria. That's called a mental illness.
It's not a such thing. And
Yes,
to see
there
people
is.
try to gaslight. I talk about this on the Blaze all.
Nobody's gaslighting you.
You've been gaslighting this entire majority of this time that I've been watching your clips. You've been gaslighting.
We overuse that word and people have no idea what the fuck it even means anymore.
You don't even know what it means because you don't even realize the ironic nature of yourself gaslighting.
Thomas, the last one I'm gonna mention. It's insane how people have we've allowed these weirdos to try to weaponize self-harm.
It's not self-harm though. How is taking a hormone supplement, which is something that cis people do all the fucking time, how is taking a hormone supplement self-harm? How?
It's self-harm because you're giving these type of medications to children who cannot consent. How
is a cosmetic surgery self-harm?
Because there can be complications with cosmetic surgery too. There can be complications that can lead to your passing from cosmetic surgery. There are people who have died from getting BBLs. This guy is so fucking stupid.
Burn victims do that all the fucking time. Hell, even people who aren't victims of anything but just want their body to be a little different do that all the time. You know what it
Yeah, and you still put yourself at risk of passing away.
cosmetic surgery is? You know what is a cosmetic surgery? A nose job.
You know what is a cosmetic surgery as well? A Brazilian butt lift, a BBL. And there have been a record number of people who have died after doing a BBL. So you sound stupid.
That self-harm is getting liposuction or getting cool sculpting. Is that self-harm?
Once again, it can be, because there can be complications with surgeries like that. I'm pretty sure there's a risk of complications with any kind of surgery, even if it's supposed to be a life-saving one. But again, we're not talking about that. We're talking about things like double mastectomies and bottom surgery. And you're trying to gaslight right now about what Eric is actually talking about.
They are procedures that are done surgically. Is that a self-harm thing as well? I would argue.
Once again, you completely missed the argument.
No, not really. Surgery is surgery. LASIK eye
No, it's not.
surgery. That's a surgery.
Yes, laser eye surgery can have complications as well. But of course, once again, you are a dumbass. And you should not be talking about something when you do not have the sufficient facts or evidence to back up the bullshit claims that you are making.
Is that self-harm?
Even though the data does not even show that once they transition, it's not, let's say, having an impact.
It does have an impact, though.
No, it doesn't. Majority of people who have transitioned either regret transitioning or they have self-deleted themselves.
Does. The data
That's what the data shows.
actually shows, and Hunter Avalon did a very wonderful video on this.
So once again, you're sending it to someone else rather than presenting the evidence yourself. Make it make sense.
The data actually shows that it does have a positive impact. What negates the positive
So once again, where is it? Where's the evidence?
impact is having a negative social environment around them that negatively affects their mentality when
Because most people are normal in the head, and you're not one of those people. You are not right in the head, and you should seek help.
they come out as trans. Discord and Volt, thank you very much for the 100 bits. I appreciate it. Having that social environment, having that lack of social support, that is why there is a smaller effect with surgery, with everything else. The rate of happiness with trans surgery, though, is higher than the rate of happiness with, say, or the rate of complacency with, say,
Okay, next clip right here. Eric July is aiding and abetting in the social situation that trans kids are battling, that thing that does not exist. Trans kids don't exist.
That's what the data's showing. Nonetheless, still having a lot of those problems. It's almost as if there's some underlying issues there.
yeah, almost like the social situation that they are involved in that you are actively aiding and abetting in potentially leads to the problems that you're talking about. I don't know. Maybe the research says that.
No, the surgery is actually leading to the problems that you think that are going on.
Maybe you should go watch a video by a different content creator who, went over that data.
He actually has gone over that data plenty of times. Again, you're just too stupid to find said videos because you know that you're disingenuous. So, and of course the last clip he compares Eric July to Musolini, which I'm not going to go through. But just remember, at the end of the day, this is what this person said. This is what this person actually believes and said in the first clip we went over. Said that most kids find out they're trans from 4 to 6 years old. And this is the person we're dealing with. Someone who looks like an absolute soy boy, male feminist type. Remember that. This is who we're dealing with. Once again, like I said, do not interact with this person on any of their social media. Keep all your comments in the comment section down below. Thank you all for checking out the video. I really do appreciate all new subscribers, returning subscribers. If you liked the video, hit the like button. Like I said, comment below how you feel about all this. I will read all the comments. Subscribe for more content. Hit the bell for notifications. Set it to all that we get notifications anytime I post a new video. And I'll see you all on the next one. Peace.